Please stand. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, we thank you for bringing us together today to worship you, to feel and know your presence, to be inspired by your words. I pray, Lord, that you give me the words that you would like upon to reach your faithful people of prayer. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Please take out one of the Bibles, open to page 874. In the 9th chapter of the Gospel of our Lord Christ, that was proclaimed by the Holy Evangelist, St. Mark, the 19th verse reads, He answered and said, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer with you? Bring him to me. فأجاب يسوع لهم أيها الجيل غير المؤمنين إلى متى أكون معكم إلى متى أتحملكم قدموه إلي فقدموه إليه. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Jesus says, how long shall I suffer with you? Back in 2004, I was on a ladder in my home, and I was way up, and the ladder, which is another story which proved to be defective, the ladder collapsed, and I came rushing down, and I broke the socket of my left pelvis, which resulted in my having surgery and I have 20 pins in it. I remember when they first started with the screening, I was afraid I used to take a paper in case the little buzzes went off. But the reason I mention that story is not to elicit your sympathy. To this day, and anyone that has this feeling, whether it be from falling or something else, when I'm watching either a movie or TV or someone in real life that falls, I get a twinge. I actually get a twinge. Now, my oldest son is in a wheelchair, and he lost part of his right leg years ago. And he, in the beginning of it, had what they call phantom pain. Phantom pain. There wasn't real pain, but it was the remembrance of that pain. So that when I see somebody fall, I'm suffering with them. I can feel it. Empathy. Empathy. In Arabic, there's a word hanun, which means compassion. The word compassion is two words, co-passion. To feel the passion of someone else. So we can understand suffering with others. Some people can't. We were blessed to have feedings for homeless people for 11.5 years behind our church. And in the beginning, I knew nothing about homelessness. I learned a lot. I began to have compassion for people that were homeless. I could understand it. It's too easy for people just to write people and say, well, they don't want to work, they're lazy bums, they're this, they're that. But to have compassion. Just this morning when I came to church, there was a man, I would say maybe 6 feet away from the door, stretched out, sound asleep. And I said to Lenore, we need to wake the man up. But then I said, well, you know what? Let him sleep a little longer. He might be tired. I've told this before, but I remember years ago, somebody came up to me who obviously had been drinking. And he said, I'm really hungry. Could you spare it now? I gave him 2. Someone said, why did you give him the money? He's only going to go drink with it. I said, well, maybe he needs a drink. Who am I to sit and say, well, you should do with the money? They said, why did you just give him $1? I said, I gave him $1 for something to eat, and maybe for something to drink. I have understanding for that. So we have to understand that when we do things that are harmful or hurtful to others, Christ is suffering. So I'm going to ask you, and please be honest, because whenever you say, take it on, the question is going to be, what might you be doing? Knowing you unknowing. What might you be doing that is causing suffering to Jesus Christ because he loves you and you're one of his children? What might convenient to blame the Jews for killing Christ. And that was used as an excuse to hate the Jews. And well, these were the deists, God killers. They killed God. But that should never happen. Why do you think that we should have never been blaming or holding a grudge against the Jews for whatever participation they had in the death of Christ?
Well, because it's part of history. It unfolded that way. That's
part of the scheme.
Part of the scheme.
But did Jesus say, Ryan, did Jesus say anything that might have gotten the Jews off the hook? John? What? No, not his son. Not his son. He said something else. Oh, I gotta go. I hope it's the right answer.
Forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Forgive them. They know what they're doing. Hello. So Jesus right off says, forgive them. But it wasn't used that way. How many of you, like me, saw a film called The
Passion of Christ.
The Passion of the Christ? Did you see it? I sat in the movie with some people from the church. And the more they were sticking it to him, the angrier I was becoming. And I got so loud that someone said, Father, shh. People would hear it. You see what it was unbelievable. It was the first time so graphically had it been shown what Christ went through for us. Why? Why do you think that Jesus would do this? We say, well, he just wanted to save the people, or nothing. Why would Jesus allow himself to not only be so tortured, but humiliated, spit on, made fun of? Why do you think Jesus did that? Why would you do it? If it was your father or mother, why would you do it?
I would allow myself to be vulnerable.
But why? If it was your mother or father you would do it before, why are you doing it?
I would love.
But it's such a simple answer, because he loves it. So Jesus, we know he did that because he loved us, but he also, according to this scripture, he was getting a little bit tired. How long am I going to put up with you people? How long am I going to have to suffer with you people? And today, that would be even more relevant than 2,000 years ago. Look at the way the world is operating. It's a disgrace. It's unbelievable. I was speaking to one of my friends who's in my age group. There aren't too many, by the way, but was in my age group. And in fact, let me ask Suzanne, because she's actually a little bit above my age group. It's nice to have somebody for their own good. Just a little. Let me ask you a question. When you look at the young people today, what do you feel about the way they act?
For the most part, they're not acting very well, I would say. I disrespect to the elders. I mean, I'm happy at my age. I have my wrinkles, but other than that, I'm very content. And I'm happy with what I did. I was free to walk to school. I had very been kidnapped. And young children have no respect for their parents.
No respect for their parents. My mother, we had my mother and my mom today. My mother was a great teacher of us to respect her. I wish I had known my mother. I can remember when I was a child, maybe Jacob's age, and my mother one time, because remember that my mother grew up in Brooklyn. Okay, she grew up back in the 20s. It was rough. And my mother said, I remember one time she actually flexed her bicep. She said, I don't care if you love me, but you better respect me. And we did respect my mother. I was afraid. My brother was gutsier than I am. I was afraid of my mother. Okay? I was afraid of my mother. She saw everything. So we suffer. Those of us that come from the golden age of the 50s and the 60s, mostly the 50s, can remember when children were taught to be respectful, courteous, kind, listening. That's not so today. So Christ, if he said 2,000 years ago, how long am I to suffer with you? What are we doing? What are you honestly asking yourself? What do you do in your life that causes Jesus to suffer? Well, one of the answers might be being on your phone when you're in church, because Jesus thinks that you're here for him, but in reality you're there for your phone. Phone is a major, major problem. It is one of the greatest tools. You know, Lenin said that about motion pictures. He said this is the greatest tool we're ever going to have for changing people's minds. Motion pictures is nothing compared to the phone. The phone is so far the ultimate device that the devil uses. He goes on and says in verse 24, straightway the father shall cry and say with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. But الوقت صرخ أبو الولد بدموعه وقال أؤمن يا سيد فأعن آدم إيماني. Help my unbelief. How do you do that? Search out the areas, and I don't need to put, I like to give Alex on the spot. Do you have any area of unbelief? If you have any area of unbelief, what do you like to share?
Yeah, generally it's trying to fix things my way with, my solutions first, rather than putting it into God's hands. Like maybe after all else has failed, I might turn to God. But that should be my first instinct.
I think we pray for healing, but our unbelief, just like what you read, help my unbelief, because you want to believe and pray and please heal this thing or whatever's happening, but we have a little unbelief that miracle's not real or it's not that.
One of the few people in the church today that remembers the man I'm going to mention is no here. We had a man in this church before I came here. His name was Charlie Azar. You remember Charlie, right? Yeah. When we wanted to come into this building in the early summer of 1976, Charlie, we had a meeting and people, and Charlie told me, you will never succeed. You will bury the congregation in this church. You will destroy the church. This is too much for the people. And I said, you know what, Uncle? Because I was raised the right way. We called it I had more uncles than aunts that you could shake a stick at. I mean, everybody was my uncle and aunt. I only had one real aunt that was alive, and my uncle was who I was there. All these other people that my mother and father had friends, they were all, did you grow up with that? Uncle, this one, and that one? Did you ever call anybody by their first name? Oh my God. Today they say, hey, Janice, how you doing? My Aunt Virginia, my mother's sister, I wanted to just hang around with her. And I said, hey, Virg. She said, you ever call me by my first name again? I wasn't abused, but I still. She said, you ever call me by my first name again, you're going to be up the side of the wall. So we were raised with respect, okay? But when Charlie told me that, I said, you know what, Uncle? I have faith in God that it's going to happen. So but I will tell you honestly, his words got to me. I'm not going to lie to you that I was concerned. I thought, am I going too far? But let's go like a year later. A year later, we had the opportunity to buy this building. We didn't have enough money for the down payment. When the owners of the building told us that they would sell us the building, I remember telling my assistant at the time, I said, I don't think we're going to get a mortgage. We don't have a track record to get a mortgage. We didn't have anything. He said, Father, you have to believe. I said, yeah, I know that. And the next day, the owners, I had a meeting with them, and they said, yeah, everything we wanted is okay. They said, you know what, Father John, if you'd like, we'll be willing to hold the mortgage at 8%, which was a great rate back in 1977. I would sell out of that share. So, Lord, we have to sit and think, what is it in me that is not believing? That is not believing. And quite often, example, your mom passed away recently. I know you prayed for your mother to live, okay? But your mom was really sick. So a person that loses someone like that, or Angela loses her sister Tina, right? Well, gee, God, why didn't you heal my sister? Because God knows what we don't know. So when we talk about the areas of our unbelief, we need to really examine them. Check them out. See where they are lurking. Because without realizing it, there are areas of unbelief that you can get rid of if you concentrate enough on Jesus Christ. And finally, he says in verse 29, and he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. First, I want to tell you something. The gospel I read this morning, and you know, the English version we get by different sources, but there are Bibles that have changed this. There are Bibles that says, and he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer. They purposely left out and fasting. Because fasting was not at that time, was not proper, or popular, I should say, amongst Protestant Christians. It says by prayer and fasting. Why is the fasting so important? Because from fasting, we need to learn to fast from earthly living. Okay, it's Lent. Now, I'm just going to make an assumption that everybody here is, first of all, is anybody here actually fasting 7 days a week? Really? Yeah. See, we don't really fast. We don't really fast. Do you think that we fast? If that's the right word. Now I'm going to say it a lot. What are we doing?
Abstaining.
We're abstaining. We're not eating certain things. We're abstaining from, well, not eating from the movies anyhow, right? But we're abstaining from going to the movies. We're abstaining from going to parties. We're not fasting. But the point is that when we fast, when is the one time of the week, sure, that, or maybe twice a week, when do you actually fast during the week? Before communion. Before communion. So that's a fast. We don't eat anything, we don't drink anything, that's a fast. He says this kind only comes out by prayer and prayer. Why is the fasting so important? Because it strengthens the prayer. It makes it real. If you know, I love this one. When my children was very small, we gave them to the Christmas gifts, and I guess it was their 4th or 5th Christmas. And they just tore open the paper. Now, Janice, you know me somewhat. After they tore open the paper, what do you think kind of wrapped the gifts in the next year?
Same paper.
No, they tore the paper. They tore them, it's gone.
Probably a brown paper bags.
Newspaper. They said, oh, Father, how could you wrap it in newspaper? I said, like they really care what is wrapped in. They're looking to get inside the paper. I'm sitting here, and I'll tell you something. Thank God I get help now wrapping gifts. Because you don't want to get wrapped on me. It's disgusting to look at. I mean, it has more, I don't know how we can open, it's got so much tape on it. Because I just take it, I wrap presents the way I was taught to cover my books in elementary school. You make a little V, and you put it up. That's how I wrap. And then I see people that take so much time. And some people, when they give me gifts, I carefully I take the tape very slowly. I have never, that I can think of, not only do I keep the gift bags that people give me. When we're opening presents with family, I try and get a couple of the other bags. So that I always have bags. The point I'm bringing out is that if it means something to you, recently, my daughter Alexandra is living up in Connecticut, and when my mom passed away, she left some bangle bracelets for my daughters, and I didn't give them to my daughter. Then I gave one to Marie Antoinette, gave one to Anastasia, I didn't give one to Alexandra because she wasn't living there. So when Anastasia went up to see her sister, I had actually a Christmas card that I hadn't been able to give her, and I put the bracelet in the Christmas card. She was so thankful. She was so, not because of the gold of the bracelet, because it was Tate's. It was her grandmother's. Okay? So that's when you know it really has meaning. So when you pray, if you just, and my favorite example is the Lord's Prayer. In some of our services, we have it at Vespers, special days, we have 40 Lord have mercies. 40. They go so fast. It's almost like getting tongue-tied. Do you think that God is really responding to this? So he says here, this is a serious, this child had a serious problem. He had a serious physical ailment. If you want things to change, you need to enforce them with fasting. So that when you pray, and what does the fasting make you think? It makes you think about what you're saying. If you can't fast, I understand sometimes it might not be possible, there isn't time to fast. But let me tell you one thing. I'll tell you what you should mostly fast from when you're praying. Time. If you can't say the prayer with heartfelt, sincere love, don't say the prayer. The liturgy of St. Francis the Great, which we celebrate on the Sundays of Great Lent, the long prayers, the quiet prayers are extremely long. You can either race through them, or you can do what I do. Before the liturgy, I pray all those prayers slowly. I think about what they mean. I think about what they're saying. And when I'm talking to God, that is why the liturgy is longer here than I told this to Graham. Right? It's longer here. Why? Because we're thinking about what we're saying. We're not just, hey God, how you doing? We're really involved. And that is why, we paid the bills. We just turned it over. That is why it's so important when you pray to think and to feel what you're saying. In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Let us pray to the Lord.